Here we are going to read Beowulf, Dover Thrift Editions, printed in 2015, translated by Robert K. Gordon. And this time we're starting at chapter 32. He who did himself sore hurt did not violate the dragon's hoard eagerly of his own free will. But some thane of the sons of heroes was fleeing in great distress from hostile blows, and pressed down by his guilt, lacking a shelter, the man took hiding there. Straightway he looked in. Dread of the monster lay upon him, yet in his misery. Then the sudden attack seized him. There were in the cave many such ancient treasures, which in days gone by some men carefully hid there, great relics of a noble race, precious store. Death took them all off in past times, and still that one veteran of the people who tarried there longest, a watchman wearying for his friends, looked toward the like fate. But for a short space he might have sway over the long-gathered treasures. The barrow stood already on open ground, hard by the waves, newly raised near the headland, strong and artful barriers. Into it the guardian of the rings bore the precious heap of the treasures of earls of beaten gold. Few words he spoke. Now, earth, do thou hold, now that heroes cannot, a wealth of earls. Lo, valiant men erstwhile took it from thee. Death and war, a sweeping slaughter, took off each of the men, each of my people, who gave up his life. They had seen joy in hall. I have no one who can wield the sword or polish the golden vessel, the precious flagon. The old warriors have departed. The stout helmet adorned with gold must be reft of its beaten plates. The polishers slumber who should make splendid the battle masks, and the corslet likewise, which endured the stroke of swords in war mid the cracking of shields, follows the warrior to decay. The coat of mail cannot journey afar by the side of heroes after the passing of the warrior. There's no joy of the harp, delight of the timbrel, nor does the good hawk sweep through the hall, nor the swift steed stamp in the count. Violent death has caused to pass many generations of men. Thus sad in mind, the latest left of all lamented his sorrow. Day and night he wept joyless, till the surge of death touched his heart. The old twilight foe, the naked hostile dragon, who seeks out barrows, flaming as he goes, who flies by night compassed with fire, found the costly treasure. Him the dwellers in the land greatly fear. He must needs seek the hoard in the earth, where, old in years, he holds possession of the pagan gold, nor shall he profit one whit by that. Thus did the people's foe guard that mighty treasure house in the earth for 300 years, till a man angered him in mind. He bore the plated goblet to his master, begged his lord for protection. Then the treasure was found, the hoard of rings was lessened. The boon was granted to the unhappy man. For the first time the prince beheld the ancient work of men. Then the dragon awoke, wrath was rekindled. He sprang along the rock, brave in heart. He came upon the enemy's foot track. He had stepped with stealthy craft near the dragon's head. Thus may a man, not destined to fall, who relies on the Almighty's protection, easily survive sorrow and exile. The treasure guardian, sore and savage in mind, made eager search along the ground, was set on finding the man, him who had done him scathe while he slept. Often he made a whole circuit of the mound outside. There was no man in that waste place, yet he was keen for the conflict, the work of war. At times he turned to the barrow, sought the treasure. Forthwith he found that some man had ransacked the gold, the rich stores. With difficulty did the treasure guardian delay till evening came. Then wrathful was the warden of the barrow. The foul creature was determined to avenge. with fire the precious flagon. Then day had departed, as the dragon desired. No longer would he wait on the wall, but went forth with fire, furnished with flame. The first onslaught was terrifying to the people in the land, even as it was speedily ended with sorrow for their giver of treasure. Then the monster began to belch forth flames, to burn the bright dwellings. The flare of the fire brought fear upon men. The loathly air flyer wished not to leave aught living there. The warring of the dragon was widely seen, the onslaught of the cruel foe far and near, how the enemy of the people of the Geats wrought despite and devastation. He hastened back to the horde, to his hidden hall, ere it was day. He had compassed the dwellers in the land with fire, with flames and with burning. He trusted in the barrow, in bravery and the rampart. His hope deceived him. That is the end of chapter 32. Now we have 33. Then quickly the terror was made known to Beowulf according to the truth, that his own abode, the best of buildings, the gift throne of the Geats, was melting in the surges of flame. That was sorrow to the good man's soul, greatest of griefs to the heart. The wise men thought that, breaking established law, he had bitterly angered God, the Lord everlasting. His breast was troubled within by dark thoughts, as was not his wont. The fire dragon had destroyed with flames the stronghold of his subjects, the land by the sea from without, the countryside. The warlike king, the prince of the Weders, gave him requital for that. Then the protector of warriors, the lord of earls, bade an iron shield, a splendid war targe, to be wrought for him. Full well he knew that wood could not help him, linden wood against fire. The chieftain, long famous, was fated to endure the end of fleeting days, life in the world, and the dragon with him, though for long space he had held the treasure store. Then the Prince of Rings scorned to seek the far flyer with a troop of men, with a great host. He feared not the fight, nor did he account as aught the valor of the dragon, his power and prowess, because ere this, defying danger, he had come through many onslaughts, wild attacks, when he, the man of victory, purged Hrothgar's hall, and in war killed with his grip the kin of Grendel, the hateful race. That was not the most paltry of hand-to-hand struggles, where there slew Hygelac, when the king of the Geats, the friendly prince of the peoples, the son of Hrethel, died in the rushes of battle in the land of the Frisians, his blood shed by the sword, beaten down by the brand. Beowulf came thence by his own strength, swam over the sea. Alone he held on his arm 30 suits of armor when he set out on that sea. The Hetweir, who wore the linden shields forward against him, had no cause to boast of the battle on foot. Few escaped from the battle hero to seek their home. The son of Ecgtheow swam over the stretch of the gulfs, the hapless solitary man, back to his people, where Hygd tendered him treasure and kingdom, rings and the throne. She did not trust her son, that he could hold his fatherland against hostile hosts, now that Hygelac was dead. Yet the unhappy men could in no way win the chieftain's consent that he would be lord over Heardred, or that he would elect to rule the realm. Nevertheless, he upheld him among the people with friendly counsel, graciously with support, until Heardred grew older. He ruled the Wettergeats. Exiles, the son of Ohtere, sought him over the sea. They had risen against the protector of the Sylfings, the best of sea kings, who gave out treasure in Sweden, a famous prince. That ended his life. Deadly wounds from sword slashes he, the son of Hygelac, gained there for his hospitality, and the son of Ongentheow departed again to seek his home. When Heardred was laid low, he let Beowulf hold the throne, rule over the Geats. That was a good king. All right, here we have chapter 34. In after days he forgot not requital for the prince's fall. He became a friend to the wretched Eadgils. He aided the son of Oter overseas with a troop, with warriors and weapons. He took vengeance afterwards with cold, sad marches. He deprived the king of life. Thus he, the son of Ecgtheow, had survived every onslaught, dread battles, mighty ventures, until that day when he was to encounter the dragon. The lord of the Geats went then with 11 others, raging with anger, to behold the dragon. He had heard then whence the feud arose, the hostility of warriors. The famous costly vessel came into his possession through the hand of the finder. He who brought about the beginning of that strife, fettered, sad in mind, was the 13th man in the troop. He was forced through though in misery, to show the way. He went against his will, till he could spy that cave, the barrow under the ground, hard by the surge of the waters, the struggle of the waves. Within it was full of jewels and wire ornaments. The monstrous guardian, the ready fighter, grown old beneath the earth, held the treasures. That was no easy matter for any man to enter there. The king, mighty in onslaught, sat down then on the headland, whilst he, the gold friend of the Geats, wished good fortune to his hearth companions. His mind was sad, restless, brooding on death, fate exceeding near which was destined to come on the old man, to seek the treasure of his soul, to part asunder life from the body. Not for long after that was the chieftain's spirit clothed in flesh. Beowulf spoke, son of Ecgtheow. In my youth I came through many rushes of war, times of combat. I remember all that. I was 7 years old when the Prince of Treasures, the friendly ruler of the peoples, took me from my father. King Hrethel brought me up and fostered me, bestowed on me treasure and banqueting, bore in mind our kinship. In his life I was no less loved by him, a child in the court, than any of his children. Heribild and Hethsin, or my Higelac. For the eldest a bed of death was made ready by deeds not fit for a kinsman. When Hethsin smote him with curved bow, his friendly prince with an arrow, he missed his mark and shot his kinsman, one brother the other, with bloody shaft. That was a violent deed, not to be atoned for by gifts, cunningly wrought, weighing sore on the heart. Yet in spite of that, the chieftain must needs pass from life unavenged. In like manner, it is sad for an aged man to endure that his son in his youth should swing from the gallows. Then he makes a measure, a song of sorrow, when his son hangs, a delight for the raven, and he, aged and full of years, can in no way bring him help. He is ever reminded each morning of his son's death. He cares not to await the birth of another son. He cares not to await the birth of another son in his court after the one has made acquaintance with evil deeds by the agony of death. Sorrowful he gazes on his son's room, the deserted wine hall, a resting place for the winds, reft of noise. The horsemen slumber, the heroes in their graves. There is no music of the harp, joy in the palace, as there was of yore. That's the end of 34. We'll do one more. Do 35. He goes then to his sleeping place, sings a song of sorrow, one man for another. His lands and dwellings seemed all too spacious for him. Thus did the protector of the wetters bear surging sorrow in his heart for Heribald. He could no whit avenge the murderous deed on the slayer, nor could he work hurt to the warrior, though he was not dear to him. Then, with the grief which came sorely upon him, he forsook joy of men, chose God's light, left to his sons, as a worthy man does, land and cities when he departed from life. Then guilt and strife came to be the portion of the Swedes and Geats over the wide water, a bitter hostility after Hrethel died, and Ongentheow's sons were brave and bold in fight. They did not wish to keep up friendship over the lakes, but often they cunningly contrived dread slaughter near Riasnabur. That did my friendly kinsmen avenge the feud and the outrage as well as was well known. Through one of them paid for it at a dear price with his life. To Heathsin, lord of the Geats, war proved fatal. Then I heard that in the morning one brother avenged the other on the slayer with sword edge. There Ongentheow seeks out Eofor. The war helmet was shattered, the aged Sylfing fell mortally stricken. The hand forgot not the feud, it drew back from the deadly blow. With gleaming sword I repaid in war, as chance was given me, the treasures he bestowed on me. He gave me land, domain, an ancestral seat. There was no need for him to seek among the Gepidae or the Speardanes, or in the kingdom of the Swedes for less worthy warriors, to buy them with treasure. Ever I wished to be before him on foot, alone in the van, and so shall I do battle while my life lasts, while this sword endures that early and late has often followed me. Afterwards I slew Dagrafin, the champion of the Hugas, in the presence of the veterans. He was not able at all to bring breast ornaments, to the king of the Frisians, but the keeper of the banner, the chieftain in his might, fell amid the warriors. The sword was not the slayer, but my battle grip crushed the surges of his heart and his body. Now the edge of the sword, the land, and the keen blade shall wage war for the treasure. Beowulf spoke. He uttered pledges for the last time. In my youth I passed through many battles, yet I, aged protector of the people, wish to seek the fight, to achieve the heroic deed, if the foul foe comes out of his cave to face me. Then for the last time he greeted each of the men. Brave bearers of helmets, dear comrades, I would not bear a sword, a weapon, against the dragon, if I knew how else I could make good my boast against the monster, as erstwhile I did against Grendel. But here I expect hot battle flame, a blast of breath, and poison. Wherefore I bear shield and corslet. I will not give back the space of a foot before the keeper of the barrow, but the fight shall be between us at the wall, as fate, the master of every man, shall decide for us. I am brave in mind, so that I can keep from boasting against the winged fighter. Do ye, clad in corslets, warriors in battle array, bide on the barrow to see which of us two can better survive wounds after the deadly onslaught. This is not your venture, nor is it in any man's power, except mine alone, to strive with his strength against the monster, to perform heroic deeds. With my might I shall gain the gold, or war, a perilous, violent death, shall carry off your prince. Then by his shield the strong warrior arose. Stern under his helmet, he bore the battle corslet under the rocky cliffs. He trusted in the strength of a single man. Such is no coward's venture. Then he, excellent in virtues, who had survived very many combats, wild attacks, when foot warriors crashed together, saw a stone arch standing by the wall, a stream gushing out thence from the barrow. The surge of the spring was hot with battle fires. By reason of the dragon's flame, he could not endure for any time unburnt in the recess near the treasure. The prince of the Wetter Geats, when he was angered, let a word go out from his breast. The strong-hearted man was wrathful. His voice loud in battle went in resounding under the gray stone. Hate was roused. The treasure guardian heard the speech of a man. There was no longer time to seek friendship. First the monster's breath, hot sweat of battle, issued out from the stone. The earth resounded. The warrior Lord of the Geats, swung his shield under the barrow against the dread creature. Then the heart of the coiling dragon was ready to seek strife. The valiant, warlike king first brandished the sword, the ancient blade, not dull in its edges. Each of the two hostile-minded ones felt fear of the other. The ruler of friends stood staunchly against his high shield. When the dragon quickly coiled together, he waited his war gear. Then, striding amid flames contorted, he went, hastening to his fate. The shield guarded life and body well for the famous prince, less time than he wished. There then, for the first time, he had to show his strength without fate allotted him fame in battle. The Lord of the Geats raised up his hand. He struck the dread gleaming monster with the precious sword, so that the bright edge turned on the bone. It bit less keenly than its king, hard pressed by trouble, had need. Then, after the battle stroke, the guardian of the treasure was in savage mood. He cast forth deadly fire. Far leaped the war flames. The gold friend of the Geats boasted not of famous victories. The naked battle blade failed at need, as it should not have done, the long famous brand. That was no easy step for the famous son of Ecgtheow to consent to yield that ground. Against his will he must needs inhabit a dwelling elsewhere. Thus must every man forsake fleeting days. It was not long till the fighters closed again. The treasure guardian took heart anew. His breast labored with breathing. He who before held sway over the people suffered anguished, ringed round with fire. No whit did his comrades, sons, and chieftains stand about him in a band of valor, but they took to the wood, they hid for their lives. In one of them the mind was roused to face sorrows. In him who well considers nothing can ever stifle kinship. That's the end of chapter 35.